the governor of the Commonwealth of Massachusetts had his State of the State address last night from his office, not from the usual House chambers, because of the panic that is still going on. And he, of course, took many bows for his great performance. Just ask, how great was it? Just ask him how great it was. There was a great column, however, in the Herald yesterday. Something stinks with timing of curfews being lifted in Massachusetts. I wrote a similar column myself, but Chef Mike Fucci had another great column about it as well. He's the owner of Chef Mike's Cucina in Needham, and he's a former champion of Cutthroat Kitchen on the Food Network, and he's the founder of the Facebook group Bay State Restaurants United Against Charlie Baker. So, Chef Mike, thanks for being with us here on the Howie Carr Show.
Hey, Howie, thanks for having me. It's great to talk to you again.
So, what did you make of the speech last night by Governor Parker or Governor Baker? Did you watch it, or did you read the transcripts, or did you pay any attention to it at all?
I watched part of it, but at the end of the day, it's all hot air. It just comes out of places it shouldn't come out of, and it's not. None of it means anything that comes out of his mouth anymore. The political games, people being toyed with. This guy is toyed with people's lives, all to make people up in Washington happy, and it's sickening. It's disgusting.
Let me play a couple of these cuts and get your reactions to them. Cut 40.
Sorry, give me a minute.
Okay, it's going to take a little bit. So basically, Chef Mike, he's blaming everybody else. That's
as you know, our economy and the jobs and purpose that come with it have been pounded throughout this pandemic. Last February, our economy was humming, but COVID hammered it.
He had nothing to do with it.
Yeah, he didn't murder over 4,000 businesses in the state. He had nothing to do with it. He left us hanging for at least 8 months. If the Fed's not supposed to do something and they're not doing their job, it's up to the governor to fix the problems in his state. Instead, he chose to sit back, add restrictions, make matters worse, and then lie about it. He came out. It was ironic, the timing of the restrictions being lifted when you've got the New York Times coming out letting everybody know that they've done a study, and the study shows that right now, this week, is the deadliest week in COVID. Okay? And all of a sudden, restrictions get lifted the second the Democrats get the guy out of office. Something stinks. It stinks like nothing I've ever seen. And I've had enough of this guy. This guy needs to go. It's getting to a point where the people still aren't being represented, at least for the last 50, 60 years. And we're sitting here taking the hits. This guy had no problem taking his check every week. He had no problem living in his house in Swampscott. Well, we're over here dying and drowning, trying to stay afloat. And he hammers us with more restrictions. Then all of a sudden, hey, the 9:30 curfew. COVID's not hiding around the tree anymore. Hey, you can go out and sit in a restaurant if you want to. Well, 25%, hey, listen, it is what it is. But even still, hey, you can stay up until 1 o'clock. What happened to the college kids and the ages of 21 to 35 that like to go out and party on the weekends and hammer inside of bars? What happened to all that talk? It's gone. And this guy's a fool, and he's a buffoon, and he should be ousted today. I'm sick of this guy.
Speech, Mike, was so bad that Commonwealth Magazine, they're part of the Amen chorus. Never has heard a discouraging word about Charlie Parker. Even they had to admit he made no mention of the thousands and thousands that died in the nursing homes. We're number one in nursing home deaths. And he made no mention of the 76 veterans who died in the Holyoke Soldiers Home. And now his patronage appointee, who gave him $950, is under indictment in Hampden County for negligent homicide. I mean, he didn't criminal negligence. He didn't mention any of that in his speech, did he?
No, he didn't. He also didn't mention the 8% rise in suicide rates amongst restaurateurs over COVID because of his restrictions. Who's holding his feet to the fire for that? Who's holding his feet to the fire for all the drug addictions that amplified? during COVID due to restrictions. My business, I understand my business. I've been doing it 33 years. Okay, I get it. Most people that work in kitchens, there are dependents. People have dependencies, whether it's alcohol or drugs. It's rampant. But when it goes up the way it has, because people are sitting home with nothing better to do, collecting checks, unbelievable. This guy, I can't even stress you what I want to say, Howie, but this guy will never be held accountable until someone decides to hold him accountable, and we get him into a courtroom and he answers for what he did. He murdered people. I don't care what anybody tells me. He murdered people. These people committed suicide. They lost their children's college funds. They lost their houses. They lost their businesses. They lost everything. And this clown decided, oh, it's okay to lift restrictions after we play political games with your life. This is not even an okay situation by a long shot. And I'm sick and tired of politicians not being held accountable. Enough's enough. It's time to stop putting people's feet to the fire.
Let me wait. Now, you said he murdered people, but he's got a different take on that. Chef Mike, let me play cut 30. Let me play cut 38, and you can respond. Cut 38.
Over the past year, thousands have lost their lives, and thousands more have been hospitalized. And we all worry that our loved ones could be next. But because of COVID, we can't visit or hug them.
He knew what he was doing. He knew exactly what he was doing. When you have a system that is known, that's targeted to people of a certain age, and you have that system in place, he knew what he was doing. That's all I can say.
Cut 48.
So maybe everything's going to go back and it's look exactly the way it was. And if that's what a whole bunch of smart people who studied this came away saying, fine, we'll lean into that. But I've talked to a lot of employers and a lot of people who are thinking very differently about how their future is going to work and what it's going to look like than they were before all this got started.
You own a business, Mike Fucci. Are you thinking differently now since Charlie Parker has been performing his miracle work on the economy and the society at large for the last year?
What's this guy think? You're going to snap your fingers and everyone's back to normal or everyone's back to even? Restaurants, I'm going to talk about restaurants, Howie, because that's what I know about, okay? I'm not going to dive into other things that I don't know about. But here's the deal. My restaurant alone is down 90%. 90. Do you have any idea how long it's going to take me to make up for this whole BS year? It's going to take me at least 2 years, 3 years to regain our funds, to regain our lives back. The hundreds of thousands of dollars that were poured into a business over a year by people. Do you know how long it took them to make that money, to put that money back into their business because the government left them hanging? I mean, what's this guy think? Tomorrow morning we're going to wake up and, hey, rainbows and marshmallows. There's no more COVID. Everyone come out of your, it's like the Wizard of Oz. Come out of your trees, the little people. I mean, is this guy serious?
Yeah. I'll give you another one here. Cut 37.
Like many others who have family members in senior living, I went over 100 days last spring without being able to see my dad. It was awful.
Everybody went through it. You're not the only one, Charlie. Everybody went through it, but you know what? The one place that you should have given restrictions to protect the elderly should have been these elderly housing facilities and these veteran homes. You should have locked them down. Unfortunately, when you don't lock them down, that's how people die. They should have had restrictions put on them, not targeting restaurants, which, by the way, his own lieutenant governor about 6 months ago came out and said 0.0002% restaurants are responsible for COVID. Okay? Then a week later, he slapped us with restrictions.
Charlie Parker,
Went after us.
he got $52,000 from the operators of these nursing homes for his campaign account. DeLeo, the former speaker, got $46,000 from the nursing homes. Polito got $35,000 from the operators of the nursing homes. You guys just didn't do the right thing in the restaurant industry, Mike. You didn't pony up enough.
Everybody.
What?
We should have screwed everybody like they did. We should walk around screwing everybody like they did. and then maybe we'll get ahead. That's what it seems like.
So what are you going to do?
Politician.
What are you going to do next, Chef Mike? Can you survive?
I've had to change my concept at least 3 times during COVID, and it's killing me. I'm down. I went from fine dining. My fine dining menu is down to burgers and hot dogs. Trying to survive, trying to drop my food cost, trying to make things happen so that I don't have to rely on a government that's going to leave me hanging. He left us hanging, the governor. And then when he did decide to do something, he brought out a sexist and racist grant program that was focused on women-owned businesses and minorities only. Because guess what? It didn't hit Needham. COVID never touched Needham. It never hit the actual white guy or the Italian guy who owns a business. It only hit women, and it hit minorities. So for a government that screams and shouts inside your ear and says, we need equality, they should practice what they preach.
They don't talk about equality anymore, Chef Mike. As you know, the new word is equity. That means we're going to just take the whole pot and divvy it up. They don't want equality. They want equity. That's the new word. And they want inclusion, right, Mike. And inclusion, you know what? That means include people like you and me out.
I agree. I totally agree. And I think that this is disgusting. And I think it's sick. And I just can't. This government, I can't stomach. I haven't been able to stomach the government for years because I'm a firm believer that they're always out to screw you anyway. But there are some highlights. And the highlights are good highlights. But then when it's real low, it's as low and as dirty as it gets, is which the moves were played this last week. This is disgusting. Everybody should be rising up and saying, you know what? Oust people. If they feel like you've been screwed, get them out of there and move them out of there fast. And I'm sorry to say it, but I firmly believe Pelosi should be first. Then Schumer, and work your way down the line. Both sides. Gone. Let's bring a government back that believes in the people.
Unfortunately, it's going to take a couple of years. They just were sworn into office, Chef Mike. We got to move.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah, I know. What's the old bumper sticker say? Think globally, act locally. There's some troublesome
Correct.
State representatives and state senators in our neck of the woods. I include Needham in my neck of the woods, you know. And it's just got to start trying to improve the political situation, and it's really difficult. You did a great job with this column, though. It's been the number one for clicks on the Herald website for a couple of days. You did a great job, and you hit a lot of high points. And I'm sorry you're going through this, and we'll be in touch, Chef Mike, and we'll get out to eat there. When I get back from Florida, I'll definitely be stopping by Chef Mike's Cucina in Needham. And I hope you get the gourmet menu back. I'm not a big hot dog guy, you know.
Oh, I'll get it back soon. Howie, do you mind if I just throw out my my GoFundMe page to help people?
Absolutely. Go ahead.
Thank you. It's Bay State Communities Fund. It's Bay State Communities Fund on GoFundMe, so we can raise money to get the lawyers involved. And if we have some left over, we're going to try to help as many restaurants as we can and help some of the owners get through, whether we paid an electric bill for them before they get shut off or a gas bill, whatever we can do.
Maybe Charlie Baker. Maybe Charlie Baker can do something for you. I mean, with his housing allowance, he only made $250,000 last year.
Well, he's already given too much. His 2 cents isn't worth 2 cents to me, so he can keep it.
All right, Chef Mike Fucci from Chef Mike's Cucina in Needham. Thanks for being with us, and check out that column he wrote on the Boston Herald website. I'm Howie Carr.
He's New England's talk radio king. He's Howie Carr.
New year, new hobbies. Whether it's